Good afternoon, and welcome to the last, and I believe the most intriguing session of the day. My name is Jeremy Waldrop. I'm President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, and we are proud to sponsor today's event here in the heart of downtown. Congratulations to the team at the Pittsburgh Robotics Network for making this happen. We're here for a conversation that reflects a major shift happening, not just in innovation districts or on the coast, but right here in the core of downtown Pittsburgh. The reality that every company is now a tech company, whether it defines itself that way or not. Because whether you're making steel, delivering care, or moving capital, AI and automation are no longer edge experiments. They're becoming the operating systems for competitiveness, customer experience, and growth. And while people often point to places like Bakery Square, Oakland, and the Strip when they talk about Pittsburgh's innovation ecosystem, the truth is that's happening here. Often under-recognized, there's a concentration of AI adoption happening in downtown. In the banks, the manufacturers, the healthcare and logistics firms, the professional services offices, the companies that define this city for generations are now redefining themselves through technology. Today's panel gives us a front row view of this transformation. We're joined by leaders from manufacturing, healthcare, and banking, three sectors that employ thousands of people here in downtown, and all three using AI and robotics in very real, very practical ways to reduce errors, shorten time to insight, improve customer experience, and free up people to focus on higher value work. I'd like to now introduce our panel moderator, Shannon Baker. In addition to being the chairperson of the PDP, she is president of Gatesman, a downtown-based full-service marketing and advertising firm that is itself embracing AI to fuel strategic and creative excellence, both for their internal business and for their clients. Please join me in welcoming Shannon.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. So a recent Financial Times analysis of S&P 500 filings found that nearly 375 companies mentioned AI on their earnings calls last year. And then 9 out of 10 described it in very glowing terms. However, when pressed to explain the upside, most fell flat with vague descriptions and very little evidence of impact. And so they really weren't sure how to explain what was happening. To thrive in the rapidly evolving age of AI, senior leaders need to recognize that success hinges less on simply just the technology itself and more on leadership and organizational transformation. And today on this panel, we're going to explore just how 3 global brands are doing that. Today, I'm joined by brands whose impact and innovation is evident both national and in international markets, and whose leadership and headquarters are right here in downtown Pittsburgh. These leaders have aligned technology to their company's value propositions in manufacturing, healthcare, and finance, and are leveraging AI to change their organizations and their workforce for the better. Please welcome Budde, Chief Digital Officer, PPG. Brad is Vice President and Chief Digital Officer, where he leads the Digital and AI program, which is accelerating customer engagement and internal productivity. With more than 15 years of experience, Budde has held senior leadership roles in digital, where he has enhanced innovative solutions for customers in industrial, commercial, and residential markets. Before joining PPG in September 2022, he served as Vice President Digital Customer Experience at Emerson. He led the company's digital product roadmaps across Emerson.com and My Emerson, digital engineering tools, e-commerce, sales enhancement, and analytics. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Shannon.
Next, we have Richard Clarke. Richard is a recognized leader as the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Highmark Health. He's a leader in the application of AI within the overall healthcare industry. At Highmark Health, he serves in several key leadership roles for Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, which ensures 1 in 3 Americans. And last but certainly not least, we have Philippe Condessa, Director at BNY's AI Hub. As part of the bank's global AI Hub effort, Philippe is focused on designing, developing, and deploying novel AI solutions across the enterprise. Philippe has over 15 years of AI research experience and 5 years leading AI research teams, delivering R&D results in a wide range of fields, including financial, among others. In addition, he has authorship over 75 peer-reviewed papers and patents. Based in Pittsburgh, Philippe holds dual PhDs in electrical and computer engineering from Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Lisbon, plus MSCs and BSCs in biomedical engineering from the University of Lisbon. So let's start, gentlemen, with a bit of a warm-up for you. When we think of the work happening in this space, in this region, they usually mention areas like the Strip, Bakery Square, Oakland. And yet right here in downtown, there is an incredible amount of innovation happening in our city's core. And it's time to get that story told, don't you think? Enough of the preamble, right? So let's get it going. Could each of you take a turn and broadly share your organization's point of view on AI and the role of innovation?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Everyone, Richard Clarke. So, at Highmark Health, we have over 50,000 employees, operating in kind of all aspects of the healthcare system between insurance payer, health system. We have a dental company, et cetera, et cetera. And we fundamentally believe that AI is transforming, not will, but already is transforming, the industry. It's transforming the way people receive care, and it's transforming all 50,000 employees and how they work. We largely put our AI efforts into 3 buckets. It's got to stay in the game, which is there's lots of expectations about what will show up for everyone, and we want to make sure that happens. Really, a lot of federated innovation. We then want to win the game, right? We want to differentiate, and then at the end of the day, we want to change the game, completely reinvent how care is being delivered to end up having more affordable and better outcomes. And we truly think that that isn't like a 3 to 5 year vision. That's kind of already happening today.
Cool. Hi everyone, Brad Budde. I work at PPG. We at PPG are primarily a chemistry company. Our purpose is to protect and beautify the world. And so we make coatings for a very wide range of industries and applications. And part of our core competency then is to develop application solutions for our customers that fit for their purpose. And we do that all day, every day with our chemists. So our initial AI approach is to make sure that we can do it both for our customers and with our customers around our chemistry. And we've recently began initiating with our customers activities to go into the paint shops and the paint lines to make sure that we can mix colors the right way, to make sure that the materials are operating like they're supposed to as they are sprayed onto a product, and ultimately our customers can build the product that they will then resell. We also coat insides and outsides of walls in our architectural coatings business, and we're using AI a lot with our customers there to visualize color in a setting, rather than having to take paint samples. Internally to PPG, we've been focused on our chemistry and science and technology program, but now this year we're accelerating across all of our functions, and our ambition is to drive that acceleration, for example, in customer service and in marketing and in our finance teams. And if we do that really well, we think people are going to be better at their jobs.
Philippe Condessa here. So BNY is a company that's 240 years old, which means that we've been innovating for 240 years. AI was created in 2023, and that's a 200-strong team, globally distributed, with a core here in Pittsburgh. And from there, we're just building central tools on which everybody at the bank can access top-of-the-line AI. So our focus here is not only creating better solutions, but also empowering our 50,000 plus workforce to use the AI tools that we're creating, and then just empowering them.
Wonderful. Well, let's dig into some of those cases, some use cases that might be applicable or might be interesting to you all out in the audience. And I know that, Brad, you gave us a couple examples there, but I'm going to start at the far end. And Philippe, I'm going to ask you if you could give us some case studies or examples of work that gets a little bit deeper into what BNY is doing.
We do a lot of different we tackle different problems within BNY, but one of my favorites is the digital employees. So we currently have over 100 digital employees. So these are AI-driven entities with access to Outlook, with access to Teams, with access to Jira boards, with managers, human or AI, which we deploy on specific and very repetitive tasks. Say, hey, you now have to do Java migration. We have a vulnerability, we need to fix this thing. So we are able to, instead of having thousands of engineering hours dealing with this, we can just assign that problem to an AI employee, an AI-based digital employee, and they will do a push commit, and then someone will review. We have this within engineering, we have this for payment automation and payment prepare. We have a payment that comes and, hey, it didn't get exactly where it needed to go, we need to fix. Usually we have multiple operators going to them and fixing those payments manually. Now we're able to just have an entity that solves these things. So we're able to just leverage top-of-the-line AI methods, connect to our big data lakes, and then just make them better, make them interact with humans as well, and then address specific problems.
Smart, and I'm sure employees, to a certain extent, appreciate that as well, right? They're doing less of the type of work that has that redundancy, and they're doing more of the critical and creative thinking, more of the human-centric.
Exactly. I mean, it just removes those repetitive tasks. I mean, that's the goal with automation, right? You don't want to automate everything. You want to automate things that humans are not suited to do day in, day out for 30 years in their career. I mean, there are better things to do. There are more impactful things for our clients that we can be doing with our human employees.
Perfect, thank you. Now, what about you, Brad? You gave us a couple examples. We dig a little deeper. Give us a little bit more of use cases.
Would love to. Last week we announced that we're using artificial intelligence to build chemistry products, and the one that we launched was a clear coat for our automotive refinish business, was built using an AI model. And that was the first of many. By the end of the year, we're going to have built over 50 AI models. So the change here is that our chemists are starting to use data science alongside their traditional chemistry approach to get to better solutions on the top of their funnel of development. They go to the lab with fewer samples that are have a higher probability of success. And then as we work through the phases of qualifying our products, we also have higher probability of success, and we do it faster. So that value proposition is working for our science and technology teams. And we think if we can continue to build out platform capability, we're going to be able to end up moving upstream with our customers to help them select colors, select coding requirements, and more automation all the way through the development cycle.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on. Richard, this question's going to be for you. And at the beginning, I talked about the ability to take technology and scale it enterprise-wide. And that's a hard thing to do. But that's also something that I think perhaps you can speak a little bit more about, and how you've been successful in scaling AI beyond just pilot programs, really using it to move from experimentation into that enterprise-wide adoption.
Yeah, there was an interesting study that if you all haven't seen, I would encourage you to go look at. MIT put it out a few, probably months ago at this point, but it at least asserted that 95% of AI efforts did not lead to any impact. And you kind of alluded to that at the beginning. And at least for us, like, we definitely are kind of like not in that case, right? We're actually seeing a ton of impact. And I think a lot of it is because we've invested in the change management required to get this adopted. I love what Philippe said around really helping employees, the 50,000 employees, apply AI in their job, and that's exactly what we've been doing. So we have an AI Center of Excellence. It's actually led by a change expert in my organization, and we have AI consultants that are kind of aligned to each business that are helping folks understand common patterns. Like Philippe gave a great example of a common pattern of, like, I'm trying to summarize some piece of information, I'm trying to go out and find a piece of information. We'll build kind of an initial prototype or an initial pattern around that, and basically then roll it out to everyone and say, here's how you can implement in your area, right? Then there's so many of these in healthcare, contract comparisons, right? Summarization of medical charts, comparing translation, et cetera. And so the more that we can build these services and then teach people how to use them, and I would say kind of reduce the barrier to entry there in terms of, no, this is how you can then apply it in your day-to-day work. Here's a platform where you can trust those digital workers, monitor them, et cetera. And then, frankly, build it into our incentive system, right? Every vice president and above within, Highmark has a goal in their performance review that says, how are you applying AI to create value for the customers? And then finally, I would say, role modeling, right? There isn't a, employee meeting or leader meeting where we aren't talking about, and then most importantly, demonstrating use of, artificial intelligence. We have prompt libraries throughout the company. I share the prompts that I use. We talk about it all the time. So that role modeling for me is really, really, really important.
Now, we talked about this as well. There are tens of thousands of workers, of employees that commute downtown Pittsburgh, and we have on stage 3 huge hiring companies. We have BNY, we have PPG, we have Highmark. So I'm going to ask you all to tell me a little bit more about how is AI reshaping the nature of work here, from specific data-driven roles to new types of collaboration, and really across the gamut of skilled workforce as well, right? So whether you are a senior leader modeling tool usage and showing that adoption rate, or you're coming into the market trying to break in with a skill set that's going to be competitive and sought after. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I can start. I think there's a fundamental shift going on, right? Both in terms of the expectation of everyone within the workforce to be able to utilize these tools to kind of maximize productivity. One important metric we talk about a lot is % of time you spend at top of license, right? And so, we shouldn't be hiring folks that are then kind of working down license, right? We should be providing them tools to say, like, no, you shouldn't be searching for information, you should be making decisions. So that's really important. New roles are kind of created. We didn't have an AI consultant role, a couple of years ago. Now we do. Folks are reskilling themselves. And I think when you really know that you're starting to have transformation is when you're starting to redo like horizontal workflows. Because essentially now the work is not just transformed kind of within a role, it's really transformed across roles. And we've been talking a lot about, well, what does the kind of job reskilling look like? How to think about that. And then we also have a ton of new partnerships. Just look around this place. It's amazing the amount of innovation, in a large company like Highmark or PPG or Bank of New York Mellon. We're always looking for ways to insert value-add companies into it, but that has to be done in a way that doesn't create fragmentation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's lots of opportunity there as well for kind of those integration roles, how to drive adoption and change management.
Brad or Philippe, anything to add?
Yeah, we similarly have repurposed traditional roles, and in my group, as we built out the AI and data science program, we now have 10 PhD chemists who've chosen to come over into the AI program and kind of redirect their careers into building data science and data engineering for the sake of what we call formulation AI. And I'm inspired by that, frankly, that people can, for so long in their careers, have a direction and a pathway and see this wave of change come and decide to pivot their career in a different direction. So we're trying to take that mentality across other functions, and our ambition to move across those, engineering, procurement, finance, marketing. What we have to do is upskill employees to the same degree that we just did with those PhD chemists. So, all these folks, by the way, are downtown Pittsburgh, and we work together. We share in the learning. We build collaborative training and upskilling programs that build on all of this foundation that we've already learned about to make a wider range of people more successful in driving the change up through their programs. But also we have to do a top-down. I don't want to miss that point, that if you don't have executives on board and they're not measured and they're not incented to drive it as well, it won't happen. So you have to put the squeeze on, is the way I was describe it.
So from our side, I would say that the main driver that we're having here is a centralized AI platform that everyone can use. So Robin Vince, our CEO, and any analyst will have access to exactly the same tools there. And towards talent and towards the workforce, what that means is that our 50,000 plus employees, out of them, 95% are onboarded on that platform. We are seeing and we are desiring that becomes the central hub of work, but also that in order to build that platform, those capabilities, currently, at least for the last 2-3 years, 25% of the Masters of AI graduates out of CMU go to BNY to work. So we have to upskill our workforce. We also need to make sure that, hey, they don't need to create AI. I don't need to create an email server to send an email. I'm expected to work with an email. People are expected to work with AI, and we'll give them the tools and the ability to do so. But we also need to hire top-of-the-line PIT and CMU grads to build those tools for us.
Let's continue down that vein a little bit more, because it's very interesting to think about not just the types of roles, but setting up your business for success. So even that organizational structure. And Philippe, I'd like to ask and sort of begin with you, because I think you're a great example of jumping from, I don't know if anybody's read Arthur Brooks, strength to strength, right? This idea, this notion of you learn, you continue to grow, and you take these leaps into new interests, new patterns, new careers. I look at your background, and you are somebody that has made great leaps playing to your strengths. So when you think about why BNY has been successful and how they have evolved their organizational structure to set them up for success, what are takeaways that members of the audience should keep in mind when working with leadership or talking about, what the future org structure looks like?
That's a great question. So drawing a little bit also from my background, I see that what tends to be successful in adopting and pushing innovation is a little bit, first, on one hand, we need to have a central organization that will push and condense everybody there in a single push. We can just have teams with one single person and hiring someone and say, hey, do some AI for me, and I'll check in 6 months. There needs to be a concentrated effort. There's also going to be a lot of wasted effort in the beginning, and we need to be okay. There are going to be 1,000 flowers bloom, and some of them will be great things, but it's a push and pull. We need to bring everybody together, but we also need everybody to try a little bit and let them fail a little bit until we figure out what works there.
Anybody else care to share thoughts on what's been successful as you've started to transform your own organizations?
I guess the only other thing I'd add, and Brad kind of alluded to it, to me this is like a C-suite level conversation, right? And I do think that level of focus and support is important for the kind of working through the failures, right? Working through and these amazing things don't get built in a straight line, right? And so it needs to have that kind of leadership to kind of see through that and continue to push, right? Because I think otherwise, you'll end up with some minor use cases, but it kind of won't get into the heart of the organization.
So having that curiosity, being able to get on board and not necessarily know it all, but learn it all, right? Have that curiosity that can drive you forward, and then also giving permission to fail, right? That sounds a little bit counterintuitive to what a lot of us maybe have been taught. In order to be successful, you cannot fail. Well, we have to give ourselves permission to know that we can and continue to plow forward and make the bobs and weaves that are necessary. That's great advice for people who are in leadership roles or who are in mid-level of their career, but I see a lot of young people walking around the exhibit floor today as well. And so whether you are a student, whether you are a young professional, what types of opportunities exist now to build a career and to stay in Western Pennsylvania, to stay downtown and have a career in AI? What would you tell some of these young people? How would you skill? How would you study? What are the things that they need to be thinking about that may not be completely obvious in front of them? Brad, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in an and statement for this, in that you pick a domain that you love and apply AI to it. I honestly don't think there's just AI jobs. Maybe data science fits into that, maybe programming, but across our enterprise, every function will have the and statement applied to it. So go find the degree in the domain that you think you can have a career in, and bring your curiosity, bring the tools into the way that you work. You may have to learn on your own, which is what your leaders will expect you to do. We've heard from both panelists. And you will make mistakes along the way. But then you also have to bring the courage to propose what the change can look like. We were talking before this. We don't even really know the future ourselves, and we're sitting up here talking about it. So we look to the experts who are living it and doing it to show us what good looks like. And then we, as leaders in an organization, can figure out how to amplify and scale that. So we need people that are courageous and good communicators in their domain to show us.
Yeah, I love that message. I say all the time, we're looking for hybrid skill sets, right, that know kind of an industry and know the technical components. And the other thing I would say is like, demonstrate continuous learning. I mean, we were just talking before about some of how our hackathons internally have evolved with these vibe coding tools, and it's not days anymore, it's hours. And so there's no reason why, if you want to come and interview for a job, you can't like show someone something you built. I mean, the tools are out there. You can create synthetic data. You can create the ability to kind of show that vision and start to demonstrate capability. I think it's awesome because it doesn't come from, oh, this is what I used to do in the past. I'm going to say, no, this is like what I can do right now. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity to like kind of quote unquote own your career even more so than maybe some of us from that have in the past.
Anything to add, Philippe?
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, currently AI tools are extremely democratized. 15 years ago, I mean, if I wanted to do a data science project to show someone, there was no GitHub, there was no Hugging Face, there was nothing. At this stage, it's just problem solving. That's the basic thing that shows, and we'll be in this panel in 50 years trying to figure out how to upscale the AI workforce into something else, but it's not anything new. I mean, we've had to work with digital literacy, now we'll have to work with AI literacy, and in 10 years we'll work with something else literacy.
And that's a great reminder and a segue, thanks for the setup, my man. Fears, right? Concerns. What are you hearing from your workforce, or what are some of the myths or some of the disillusionment that might need to be corrected in terms of AI and the impact it's going to be having on the workforce? A lot of people in this building, certainly everybody up on this stage knows the empowerment, right? You are empowered with these tools to be in power of your trajectory and your career going forward. But what are some of those myths or some of those misconceptions that just drive you nuts that you want to make sure the workforce knows as it relates to AI in the future?
I had a rich example this morning, so I'll share that. I was giving a town hall to all of our employees at PPG, and a Q&A session happened, and the question was something like this. I'm paraphrasing. Brad, our customers are used to high touch with human beings, and they probably don't want AI to work with them. How do you address that? And I guess I forcefully rejected the hypothesis. I think our customers do want that. So anyway, just reflecting on your question, we do see some of the attitudes of people that aren't ready or willing to say that this is real, and or aren't willing to adapt. You get the tone of the question. As a leader, my guidance, I think, is kind of what I did. I sense a reality. I see the reality. We're here to demonstrate the reality. We have to confront people that are unwilling to address that and show them and help them come along as quickly as possible through our change management and communication techniques, while being empathetic to it as well.
Anybody else care to comment? Alrighty then, we'll move on. Let's talk about the types of tools that you're utilizing to stay current. The tools that personally that you're using, that you're exploring, that you're getting curious about right now, as well as those that you would recommend to somebody coming up in your industry who wants to get smart and they're looking for your advice. How do they advance their skill set? What are some of those recommendations?
So we are super privileged at BNY to have access to the ELIZA platform that basically combines every single really good AI tool that we either have access via vendors or build it internally. But that being said, I mean, using Copilot, using Windsurf for coding, all the Copilot within Microsoft, all the GPT-like models. It is beyond using the tools, is understanding, hey, how to use them in a critical way, how to ensure that what you're creating is useful. It's just not like, hey, Flip, that's a great question, here's the answer. So actually being able to figure out, hey, how can I use these other tools in a collaboration? Because, I mean, effectively you are collaborating with a big AI in the background. How can you effectively collaborate with those? And it just, first it takes a degree of belief, suspension of belief, but eventually having some critical thought and figure out, hey, this is good, this is not perfect, this is good, let's move forward, and just rolling with it. And next week something comes better and wows everything out of the water. So just rolling and not waiting for best, just starting now.
I have one there again from recent example. I'm a super fan of Replit right now, which is a vibe coding platform. Who's used Replit? A couple folks. I don't write code. I didn't grow up as a software developer. I was a mechanical engineer, and I tried to avoid writing code. You can use natural language to get Replit to write code for you and build software applications. And when you see it doing the thing, it's running an agent, handing off to another agent, it will blow your mind. And then the second dimension that blew our mind, we asked it to write some user interface translated to 9 different languages. And we had a Polish person in the room, and the translation was perfect. And then the third time it blew our mind was, or blew my mind, was listening to the CEO of that company talk about it. And when he said he has a pretty good point of view on what artificial general intelligence looks like, and that's when an agent knows that it's done. And when I watch Replit do its thing and the agents know that they're done, I stand back and I look at that, and I'm like, this is a tool that is really the future. And I encourage everyone to give it a go because it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, so at work, we're a Google shop, right? So all of our AI is built on Google Cloud. Huge fan of the Gemini models. Vertex is a wonderful tool for us. I will say Claude Code has been like blowing my mind lately, just in terms of what it can do. And then if there's any clinicians in the audience, Open Evidence is like an amazing platform that is I think doing really amazing things to bring kind of real world evidence to the bedside. So that would be another one I would just suggest folks check out.
Wonderful. If you haven't checked those out, check them out. Get curious, explore, be specific, right? So let's transition into kind of our landing zone here, and that is the future of AI in Pittsburgh. Certainly, the city of Pittsburgh has earned a reputation for robotics and is quickly emerging as a major player in AI. I want to learn from you three what other advantages exist for relocating, whether you are a startup, whether you are an employee, whether you are looking for an alternative headquarters for your brand. A city, a mid-sized city like Pittsburgh, compared to some of those coastal tech hubs that we've all very much become aware of. What are the benefits? What advantage exists here in the city of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly make the case for in the healthcare vertical, right? I was just at the health conference in Vegas. It's one of the larger conferences in the industry, and we actually were talking about this exact topic, and we had a lot of VC firms that we're talking to, are basically either in the Bay Area or in Boston for the most part, and a lot of them were saying we need to spend more time in Pittsburgh. And I think for me the reason's a couplefold. One is healthcare is adopting AI faster than any other industry. No matter across a number of different metrics, these tools kind of perfectly match with a lot of the challenges we see in healthcare. Two, we have kind of the perfect, I think, mixture of university thought leadership across CMU, Pitt, Robert Morris, Duquesne, et cetera. We have amazing foundations that are doing great work here to support that. R.K. Mellon, Hillman, Hines, et cetera. We have amazing places to then actually test and deploy that. UPMC Enterprise is doing great work. UPMC in the health system, their health plan. Highmark Ventures, our Allegheny Health Network, right? No better place to do that. And I think because of that, we're having amazing companies emerge, right? Like I look at the work that we're doing with a bridge. It's a unicorn. It's been, just growing dramatically, and we're going to not only reimagine how care is delivered, right? So when you walk into a clinician's office, their back isn't to you typing into an EMR, right? They're actually just having a dialogue with you. But then, on top of that, delivering kind of insights and seamlessly navigating insurance processes with that, so you never have to submit a prior authorization. That's automatically done at the point of care. It's just kind of endless from that. And again, I can't think of a better place. And then the third is the demographic. Like if you just look, we have an aging population that needs a lot of healthcare. We have a mixture of urban and very accessible rural areas to test different models. And then we have these health systems that are both open, right, in terms of they're serving lots of payers, they're serving lots of providers. And so it's like the perfect real world incubator to test. So for that reason, I think it's like the perfect place to do a lot of it. And my expectation is we're going to kind of rewrite healthcare, here in Pittsburgh using AI.
Okay, thank you. Brad?
That was a really good answer. The same, but to maybe a little bit lesser degree. Being a Midwest company or a Midwest town, I think it's really ripe for manufacturing opportunities. We see a lot of manufacturing footprint here. In fact, both companies that I've worked for in the last 10 years have big operations here. And so if you are in the game with AI in industrial spaces, I think there's a lot of robotics here, which have opportunity there. There's a lot more digital twin and development capabilities happening in industrial cases. This is a great place to be, to pull the talent from Carnegie Mellon and other colleges like that, bring them in to apply it to the use case of manufacturing and scale it out. We have a couple of our partners that have set up shop here as well because they see the talent, they know that they can continue to do business with us. So we've signed a few of those partnerships. And I think I do want to amplify the point of partnerships as well. I think there's so much opportunity to write partnerships in new ways in this world, both on the development side, which I think we heard a little bit about, but also on the scaling side, because you need a little bit of a different skill set in each case. But the unique expertise in manufacturing, I think, in the Pittsburgh footprint is going to be key to that future phase.
Perfect, thanks, Brad.
I would start with, talent. So we can hire from CMU and Pitt. We can hire across industries. So it might not be that big, but there's enough cross-industry mass that we can. I've moved across industries, and I'm still doing AI. And then beyond attracting talent and retaining it, we have access to CMU, we have access to Pitt. We've just recently announced a 5-year partnership with CMU where we'll have offices within CMU, we'll work with faculty, we'll do research. So those are things that become significantly more expensive outside of Pittsburgh.
So in the next 5 years, let's build on those ideas and those thoughts. In the next 5 years, what should we as a city be doing to value the importance of AI innovation, support it, develop it, and create that environment where work continues to grow and benefit the entire region? What are your asks of the city?
Well, I can start. I think, I hope that we continue to do the really good job around awareness, right? I think there is a big awareness campaign here that is, making folks aware of the amazing assets and innovation already done. I think there needs to be more support to kind of bring capital into, the region. And then I love, what Bank of New York Mellon is doing. I think many of the other companies will follow just in terms of retention of talent, right? Because there's a lot of talent that kind of is, created here, and we need to, retain more of it. And then finally, I heard at a talk a while back, we just need to have more wins, right? Just more wins. Like, again, I'm really excited about the work that we're doing with the bridge. I want to see more partnerships, because I think that just builds on itself in terms of momentum.
Build the momentum.
That's a really tough question, by the way, I think. I would say...
I just wanted to throw those zingers out there so if I could stump you.
Yeah. I would say that this is a great example of amplifying the stories, the wins. And whether you call them use cases or startup successes or even the corporate successes, having a marketing campaign that actively finds those, communicates them and amplifies them those are going to be symbols, beacons of light, I guess, that either talent will see small businesses, other business or bigger businesses looking to move or set up shop, they have to see the evidence. And so we have to do a good job as a community to put the evidence out there.
And I would also point that there's been a very good momentum on making sure that SAMU and Pitt also have a bigger effect in Pittsburgh, but they're also more connected. It's not a place where you come in, take your degree, and then go to California. So making sure that you're retaining that talent, that would also be super important.
Perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your expertise. Thank you for your thoughts. I think the bottom line that we've all heard here today is that AI will not deliver value simply because corporations spend money on tools or even infrastructure, right? It's going to deliver value when leaders develop competencies needed to transform organizations and, most importantly, their teams and their talent so that they can make full use of technology's potential. That's what's going to provide that strategic advantage. So, and as a community of civic, government, and business leaders, we must all do our part to not just support that success, but as you said very, very eloquently, Brad, celebrate that success and build that momentum and let the world know about it, whether it's big or small. And that's what's truly going to grow this industry. So thank you very much for sitting with us a little bit this afternoon. Thank you for your wisdom and your insights.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For moderating.
You're welcome. Thank you all very, very much.